Hello my friends, John LaRuffa here with another straight up solo. And in this episode we're going to take a look at Lacrimosa. We're going to see what this game is like when you play it solo. And I'm going to tell you what I think about it, what I like, dislike, and hopefully help you make an informed decision about whether this is a game you want in your collection from a solo standpoint only. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Okay folks, and as usual, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. And if you have, thank you so much. So this is what the game looks like in the start of the third round, roughly a little bit before the midpoint of the game. The game takes place over 5 rounds, and in the 5 rounds, what you're basically going to be doing is you're going to be playing cards in your board to do a couple of things, really 4 main actions. Number 1, acquiring cards up here that are music cards, compositions, okay? So you're going to be making these compositions. Number 2, getting these memory cards. These are cards that remind you of times gone by when you were with Mozart, traveling or commissioning or putting together a symphony or other things here. Well, I guess not putting together a symphony. That's a little bit different. That's present day. It kind of like mixes and matches between when you were, going across the countryside, making these memories versus, what you're doing in this game, which is ultimately to try to finish his Lacrimosa, his final requiem piece that he was writing on his deathbed when he passed away. So you're either getting cards, there's 2 flavors, basically action cards and song cards. The cards have 2 different parts to them. There's with the action cards, there's the action section over here, which I'll just demonstrate with this guy right here. So there's the action section, which can have several action icons on it. And then below is the story section, which basically generates you some kind of income at the end of the turn during the maintenance phase, okay? You're gonna have a deck of 9 cards. Mine are off to the side. You can see a draw deck over here. And you're never gonna have more than 9 cards in this game, but you can upgrade the cards with better versions of action decks throughout the game. You'll also have as many of these compositions as you decide to buy, and you're gonna use these compositions, to fulfill some of these goals which you might get while you're traveling, or to perform. And when you perform them, you get money, or to sell them. And when you sell them, you get income and points. So that's another action that you can do, is that you can either take these, when you have these compositions, you can utilize them by performing them for money or selling them for that income that'll generate at the end of the turn and points. And then the other thing you're going to do is you're going to, well, I said travel around this map area. And when you travel around, if you stop in a town, the small places, you get to pay some travel points for some immediate reward. If you go to a big place that has a royal court, you do the same thing, but yet this is all for end game scoring. So this is kind of the more strategic. I get these things, for instance, I got this card earlier, and it says if I have these 2 composition types, I'll get 4 points at the end of the game. These tiles can get better. As you see, some of them have the gilded side on them. If they aren't taken in the turn that they're laid down, they get a better version by flipping over. And then the final thing is this track over here, which is a large majority track, combined with a way to get different bonuses for providing different pieces to this composition. Plus, each of these tiles may have a one-time income of points or travel things or whatever, or it might be something that regularly refreshes, or it might be something like this one over here that whenever I do something with one of my compositions that matches this, whether it's buy, sell, or get a new one or perform it, I get 1 point. So there's some of that kind of action in this game too. Then there's some stuff with this track, which is basically controls your travel points, your composition points, and your Mozart, I can't remember what this is called, but basically like his memories out here, or his influence or whatever, based on getting these cards. And some of these things will carry over in the case of tokens. Other ones will always reset to 0 in the beginning of the game, or at the beginning of the round part, the end of the round, pardon me. So how does this game work from a solo standpoint? Well, the solo bot is controlled by this complete deck of cards here, and these work almost identically to the way that your stuff works, except there's more instant payout for these cards. Now you can use, they tell you to use the player board for a solo game, but I find it's actually easier if you're a card sleever like I am to not use it except for this income track, because the card sleeves don't fit well into here. The sleeves get stuck and everything else. Now they did a great job. If you're not a sleever, you can kind of put these cards in, which looks pretty cool. So for instance, if this wasn't here, you know, the card will actually go into the board, which is nice, maybe, unless it's warped too much. There we go. Into the board to hide that spot, you know, or into the board up here on one of these that will just show the action. So that does look cool. I'll give them that. But it's not very practical if you sleeve the cards, because the sleeves get caught and it's a mess. So, anywho, let me demonstrate a couple turns here and you'll kind of see how this goes. So each round, there's 5 rounds, it's going to have 4 turns, all right? You're always the first player. So to begin with, I'll go ahead and demonstrate getting some of these cards. So I have, no, actually take that back. I feel like perhaps the best thing to do would be to do a travel action right away, if I have the right thing. So 1, 2, so this card here says, if I have a composition from period 1, 2, 4, and 5, I'll get 7 points. Well, I already have 1 and 2. The only problem is I've got 1 and 2 that are already set up for this card. So maybe that's not the best one to have. Maybe better to get something else. I will do this. I'll travel down there. Let's not do travel. All right, let's do this one. Let's go ahead and get a better version of a card. So, for instance, I'm going to use this candle, this memory card here, to get a better version of an action card that's available on the board. Now, one of the things they did nicely on this artwork is to know whether you're paying the cost, whether you're revealing the bottom that has these costs or the top, the artwork actually matches this area. So you'll see these right here. There's a little top part that matches the top of this card if it's supposed to go there. And if it's not supposed to go there, it has, you can see a little flame on the candle on the bottom here, and it fits there. So I think that's cool because you don't have to memorize which ones go up and down. You just have to match the artwork. And I love it when there's something intuitive there that helps you out. So, anywho, I'm going to get this better version of this travel so I can travel twice. That's going to be more effective. I will use this card under here. What happens is you place this card in here to do your action, right? 1 on top, 1 on the bottom. Then I'm gonna get this one. So this cost me $4 and 2 of something. Now, because I'm not gonna spend too much time traveling, I'm gonna spend doing a lot of travel this turn. I'm gonna spend 2 of these travel tokens. I still have, or travel points. I still have a bunch of tokens. And I'm gonna pick this up. And I spent that because of the cost over here. Now what happens is you immediately replace the story card that you don't want, and it has to be that one in the row and you spent with the one you do want. So that's a win-win for me. Then you flip this over. My turn's done. I draw 2 new cards, which is shown here on the player board. Now, we'll go ahead and draw for the 2 cards for the bot. So the bot is going to, notice I put these so that the bottom here interacts with the top here, because you don't want to do, it's not 1 for 1. You have to use 2 cards. You're going to ignore this bottom section on the card over here that you draw for the action. You're just going to resolve the bottom selector section. And they do a nice job here too, because it shows you right here that it's going to be this side of, this is what corresponds to this. What this means is he is going to contribute to the Lacrimosa, and he's going to do that in the 3rd movement starting from the bottom. Okay, so here's the 3rd movement. Well, there's only one left starting from the bottom, and it's that one right there. So he's going to put his tile over here, and he's actually going to score, unlike you, he's going to score the points for the lower one. He is not going to take one of these bonuses. But what he effectively did there is he now has the majority of points, or the majority of tokens in this area. And that means his tokens at the end of the game are going to be worth 3 apiece, where mine is only going to be worth 1. So there is an area majority, so to speak, situation going on these 5 different tracks, which adds some interesting fun to the game. All right, back to me. And I think what I want to do is I'm going to demonstrate utilizing one of these pieces that I've already bought. Now, what I'd like to do is I would like to sell it. I'm not going to actually perform it. I'm going to sell it. And I'm going to use this card to go with it because I have two of them. So I'm going to take this card and I'm going to do this bottom section right here, which says I can use one of these points right there to sell it for one on my maintenance track. So this is out of the game, not going to use it anymore. I spend one of these and then I move up on here. So that'll help me generate some points and some extra of these throughout the rest of the game. Okay, so we've done that. Now let's see what the bot's going to do. Again, he's going to travel. Now when the bot travels, it's a little bit different. Oh, but this one isn't going to happen that much. So when the bot travels, if this is a 1 or a 2, he will go in the descending or ascending, in this case, descending order of town numbers and basically like wipe the board between everything and his next major spot. And then he'll take the tile for the major spot. Because it says 0, he is literally just going to take the spot that he's on, and that's going to be an endgame goal. He's going to try to score at the end. Now, he always scores them, so that basically scores 3 points for him at the end. He doesn't worry about conditions. And then this will go out at the end of the round, showing there's more things there. Back to me now. I did pick up one of these abilities to contribute down there, which I definitely want to do. And I think what I'm going to do in the side of this is I'm going to toss this one down here because I don't think I'm going to be doing traveling this time. But I am going to contribute. And where am I going to contribute? Well, I would love to have not lost that situation there. But I think it's important to get this one. This one's a 6-3. And this tile right here will give you 3 points right away. Now to contribute here, I have to spend one of the points for the composition, $4, and go down one in my funding track, which I don't love, but it's worth it because what I'm going to do is so let me do that. So I'll spend this, spend the 4, go down 1. But I'm going to take this tile. It gives me 3 points, 1, 2, 3, and I will then place it here. No, I can't do, yeah, here. And I'm going to actually take both of these trumpet sections right here, brass sections, and this neutral will count as one for my side of things because it is an 8th note, and the 8th note lines up with my player color in the solo. So that will hopefully help me score the majority here. And I want to load this one up if I can, because each of these, if I get the majority, will worth 6 points apiece. So that could be a big place for me to do a lot of scoring. And then in the last turn, or at the end, I draw my one last card here. We go to him. He's going to also contribute again, and he's going to contribute, in this case, into movement 2 on the bottom. Movement 2 has a lot of stuff left. In fact, he's the only one there. So he's going to put this here. He's going to score the 2 points. All right, finally, my last turn of this round. I would like to get some more music, if at all possible. And I think the music I want to get is going to be something that's going to align with one of the bonuses. And maybe I'm going to get something like that, because I can get that bonus later by doing a lot. That's a long way to travel, though. So maybe that doesn't make a lot of sense. But what I could show you, could demonstrate here. Maybe I'll do something different here. No, that'll work out. All right, so demonstrate a couple things. First off, I want to buy this one here. To buy this one, whoops, it's in the wrong spot. To buy this one, I have to have 3 of these points. Well, I don't have that one, so I don't have 3. I can't buy that one. Maybe it's best just to go with this. I'll go with this level 2 one that's a prayer. Maybe I'll get another one out there that'll have that symbol. So to do this, I have to spend 2 of these points, which I only have 1 and $2. Well, here's the $2, and here's the 1. Now, to get another one, I have to spend 3, okay? Well, I don't have 3, but I can trade these in for $1 a piece. So these can be 1, 2, and I can spend this for 3. So whether that's efficient or not, it's probably not that efficient, but it does give me this card, and I get to move up 4 points, putting me right here, so I'm trying to catch up with him. And I'll use that either to generate points later, or to perhaps help me with some other things. Now it's interesting. This one says you could perform it for 0. wonder why you do that. I guess you'd only do that if you wanted to activate something else in there, but that's kind of a strange one. Oh well. All right, so then we do that. We slide everything down. We flip out another card. There we go. And so I did that. I did this action right here. I wrote, and I'm going to use this story card right there to get some more stuff. Okay, and then his final action is going to be this. It is going to be, he is going to do the same. He's going to write some music. Now, when he writes music, he is going to do, in this case, the one furthest to the right, but he will immediately just get the points. He doesn't do anything with the card. So he will just get 3 points because that's what it says. He doesn't pay any costs. He discards this right away, just gets 3 points. All right. Like I said, sometimes his stuff is more instantaneous. So the round is over. So what's going to happen is his maintenance phase is easy. He just shuffles his entire deck, minus the card that didn't get played. And he puts that entire deck under the card that he didn't play. And that's it. For me, I go through a full maintenance phase. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to gain the story points that I've got here. Well, you reset your story points so you have nothing. And then I will gain 2 travel, plus 1 is 3 travel. I'll gain 1 point. I'll gain 2 of these black resources, and then 1 of these composing points right there. All right, so that is done. Then I will look at composer rewards. Here, composer rewards over here. I don't have anything in the maintenance phase, so that doesn't matter. Then I look at finances. Well, I get $3. 1, 2, 3. And unfortunately, I had to move it down, so I don't get the point. But that will help me. I'm going to bump up this track over here to get a little bit more of a bonus there, because you get 1 of any one of those extra points. Then we look at the period bonus. It says, if you've done this action with the candle and book, which I have, you get 1 of these tokens. So I have more travel. And then finally it says clean up. So to clean up, I take my hand and I shuffle it. Again, you're only going to have 9 total cards. I'm going to draw 3 more to the one I already have here. So that'll be a total of 4. Then I take these 4 cards and discard them. Take these 3 cards and slide them down to make them cheaper. I actually discard any cards that are still left in period 3. And then break out the period 4 bonus. So now in this case, I would get $2 for every thing I commissioned to compose. We refill these. And then if there are any open spaces on here, first, I look to see if there's any that are not gilded. The ones that are not gilded get flipped over to get better, to be more enticing to travel to. So they basically become a better reward. And then I put one over here where there is none. And that's it. So that gives you a full rundown of basically 1/5 of the game, 20%. At the end of the game, to score, you have all the points that you've gathered. You're going to look and score any of your bonuses that you have matched up when you've completed a card. And these have to be all independent, so you can't use one card for 2 different tiles. It's 1 for 1. And then we're going to score this majority track over here, where whoever's got the majority of pieces are going to get the higher number for their pieces, and whoever's got the lower number will get the lower number for their pieces. And that's really what you do to score the end. There's a couple little last things. You get a couple of points for leftover money, etc., but that's about it. All right. Also, I should mention, there are 3 difficulties, and I printed out these player aids. Some generous soul was good enough to make some of these on Board Game Geek, and it says, the sheet is by Spin, so that's his name on Board Game Geek. But these are very helpful. Again, should have been in the box. It wasn't too hard to learn this game. This game was fairly straightforward, but this little stuff here would have been awesome for the solo player, just to help you out to know what you're doing. And even the cards are actually pretty self-explanatory, thank goodness, as far as what the moves do once you know. Well, I would take that back. You're supposed to travel with this, but it doesn't really tell you exactly how. So a small player aid wouldn't have been the end of the world. That could have helped just make this game really easy to pick up after you've learned it once. All right, besides that, I said there are 3 different difficulties. There are different cards that you would include depending on the difficulty to make the bot easier or harder. And then the other thing you would do is you'd move him up on the funding track. While he doesn't get those funds, if he gets to the top and he keeps striking it, he'll get 2 points at the end of the game for every time he did, or 2 points during the game for every time he does that. Okay, so that is it. Let me tell you what I think. Okay, so that is Lacrimosa from a solo standpoint. I thought it was a very pleasant game to play. I thought it was fun to have the upgraded cards that did better things. I thought that you always wanted to do more in a turn that you'd have time to do. Everything in the game, it has been seen in other places. I would say there's not too many novel things really going on, but all the mechanics work well together. This is not a massively difficult game, but I wouldn't say it's a simple game either with no real choices or obvious things. You definitely can do much better by making better choices, better plays. You can find avenues of focus where I can focus on this type of thing versus that for my strategy. And what I would say is in this case, this game is definitely more strategic than it is tactical, because the setup, while there is some variability in the cards and everything else, you can decide, well, I'm going to really try to do this type of thing and go this route or go that route, heavy travel or maybe heavy composing or something of that nature, where you can kind of bend and try different things that are mutually exclusive, because there's only a certain amount of turns in the game. You're not going to just be able to milk everything and max everything out and everything like that. So I think that is cool, and I think that's the biggest draw for me. I also like the fact that the solo bot is very easy to use and has several different skill levels. The first game I played, he beat me on easy, but I could definitely tell that I could have played more effectively and efficiently after reflecting on the game. And so I think that there is an opportunity there to challenge myself more, bring up the difficulty level and give that a try, and I like that. I thought the rules were fairly well laid out and easy to understand. They put all the component details at the end, which actually I think worked in its favor, but I would almost wonder if there was a way to intersperse them with the mechanics, and maybe there isn't. I didn't really have any problems with the actual rule book. I think they did a good job. They made the examples good. I still ended up watching a video to help it glue all back in place, but the thing I really needed to make the game much easier to execute is those player aids for the solo bot. Really simple to execute this bot. You just have to know what you're supposed to do, and learning how to read those conditions just makes it easier at a glance. Yeah, you can bust out the rule book and look at the rules, but this is more succinct, and I really, really, really wish games would make that as a standard, that there's always going to be a player aid to help players out. It just makes it so much easier. The interesting part of the gameplay is the biggest draw to me. I really like the multi-use cards. I like the idea that I have to put this card, which is better, under something to get more points for next time versus using it for the better actions now, and the trade-off and back and forth on that. Because if you get, if like you saw me in that one turn, I didn't have quite enough points for what I needed to do. So I had to ended up, selling things and discarding points for other things and do those conversions, which are always non-optimal in a Euro game, in order to get across what I was hoping to do. And I think that little interplay in the cards is fun. It's fun. It reminds me a bit of Newton for sure, but this game is definitely lighter than Newton, I would say, with regards to things going on, because it's a little more constrained. This is like Newton missing that massive technology board with guys going in this way and that. It's easier to handle. It doesn't have some of the other things. So, but I don't think one or the other, you own one or the other. There's still a lot of other things here that help you kind of do some cool stuff, and that the actual composing side of it is cool, with those majorities, with the different bonuses you can get from buying the notes at certain places. And going deeper in there and getting different rewards. And there are 4 different composers in the game that you would play with, 1 per game. So there's some variability and things there. Plus there's some variability on how the setup is going and blocking certain spaces. overall, I thought it was really good. There's more cards. You don't see all the cards in the game, so you're always going to discard some. So there's definitely more that you'll ever see. So each game should be different enough. But I think that it's one of those games that once you learn and grasp it, you're not going to have too much of a difficult time pulling it off the shelf and playing it a few months later. So I'm very positive about it. I thought it was good. If you're looking for something extremely heavy or beefy, it's not going to be that way, but I think this is a great game. This is a good game of expanding your impression into deeper solo things if you've been just doing smaller stuff. This is a really good one to get you into that light medium to medium complexity from a solo standpoint. So that's what I think of it. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Whatever you decide to do in the future, please enjoy it. Take it easy.